On a quiet September night in 1983, the world felt completely at peace. Cities slept under soft lights, streets were empty, and millions of people closed their eyes without a single thought of danger. There was no panic, no warning, no sign that anything unusual was about to happen. And yet, far beyond what anyone could see, something had already begun, something silent, something invisible. Something that could have changed the course of human history forever. At that exact moment, deep inside a highly secured Soviet military facility, a man sat alone in a dimly lit control room. The glow of multiple screens reflected on his face as he quietly monitored the data in front of him. Everything around him felt routine, predictable, almost boring. It was just another night shift, or at least that's how it seemed. But history has a strange way of hiding its most important moments inside the most ordinary ones. Because sometimes, the night that looks the most peaceful is the one that comes closest to destruction. This was the era of the Cold War, a time when the world lived under constant tension. Two global superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, stood facing each other in a silent but deadly standoff. They didn't fight directly, but the threat of war was always there waiting. Both sides had built weapons powerful enough to destroy entire cities in seconds. Thousands of nuclear warheads were ready, positioned in silos, submarines, and aircraft, each one capable of unimaginable destruction. And the most terrifying part was how quickly they could be launched. Because in nuclear warfare, speed is everything. There is no time for long discussions, no room for hesitation. If an attack is detected, the response must come within minutes. Otherwise, it may be too late. To handle this pressure, advanced early warning systems were created. Satellites were placed in space, constantly watching the Earth, searching for signs of missile launches. These systems were designed to detect threats instantly and provide immediate alerts. The idea was simple: remove human doubt, replace it with machine precision. If the system detects a missile, it must be real. That was the assumption. That was the rule. And on that night, the responsibility of trusting that system fell on one man, Stanislav Petrov. Petrov was not a hero, not a leader, not someone trained to make world-changing decisions. He was a mid-level officer, experienced but ordinary, doing his job like any other day. He followed procedures, respected the system, and understood the importance of his role. Inside the control room, everything felt stable. The low hum of machines created a steady background noise, and the soft glow of screens gave the illusion of control. Nothing seemed out of place. Nothing suggested that the world was about to come dangerously close to disaster. But then, without warning, everything changed. A sharp alarm suddenly broke the silence. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't something that could be ignored. It was loud, urgent, and immediate. The kind of sound designed to signal only one thing: danger. Red lights began flashing across the room. Screens that were once calm and stable now displayed urgent warnings. The atmosphere shifted instantly from quiet routine to full crises. Petrov looked at the main screen. A message appeared clearly in front of him. Missile launch detected. For a brief moment, everything felt unreal, like a simulation, like a test. But there was no indication that this was a drill. The system was active, and it was serious. Seconds later, another alert appeared. Then another. The system repeated the warning again and again, confirming what it believed to be true. According to the machines, nuclear missiles had been launched and they were already on their way. This was the moment they had trained for. The exact scenario every officer feared. The beginning of something that could not be stopped once it started. And in that moment, the world didn't know it yet, but everything depended on one decision. To understand the weight of that moment, you have to understand the system Petrov was facing. It wasn't just a machine, it was part of a global structure designed for one purpose: to detect nuclear war before it happened. and respond instantly. During the Cold War, both superpowers invested heavily in technology that could see beyond the horizon. Satellites were placed in orbit, constantly watching for the heat signatures of missile launches. These satellites didn't think like humans. They didn't question, hesitate, or feel uncertainty. They simply followed programmed rules: detect heat, confirm trajectory, send alert. To the system, everything was either true or false. The idea behind this was simple but dangerous. Human hesitation could cost precious minutes, and in nuclear warfare, minutes could mean the difference between survival and total destruction. So the system was designed to remove doubt entirely. Once a launch was detected, the information would move quickly through a chain of command. Officers like Stanislav Petrov were expected to report it immediately, without interpretation. From there, the decision would reach higher authorities, who would then decide whether to respond with a nuclear strike. This process had to be too fast for long discussions or careful analysis. Because of this, the system relied on one critical assumption: it had to be right. There was no room for frequent mistakes, no margin for uncertainty. If the system failed, the consequences could be catastrophic. But no system is perfect. Even the most advanced technology can be influenced by unexpected variables, natural events, technical limitations, or rare coincidences that were never fully considered during design. In space, where these satellites operated, conditions were constantly changing. Sunlight reflections, cloud formations, small details that might seem harmless could interfere with sensors in ways that were difficult to predict. Yet despite these risks, the system was trusted completely. Years of development and testing had created a strong belief in its reliability. For many, questioning it wasn't even an option. Inside the control room, everything was built to reinforce that trust. The design, the procedures, even the training, all of it pushed officers to rely on the system without hesitation. Petrov knew this. He understood how important the system was, and how dangerous it could be to ignore it. His entire role was based on one principle: the machine knows better, but systems don't carry responsibility. They don't face consequences. When something goes wrong, it is always a human being who must deal with the outcome. That's what made Petrov's situation so unique. He wasn't just observing data, he was standing at the final point between detection and reaction, the last human filter before a possible nuclear response. And in that position, even the smallest doubt becomes powerful. A single question can outweigh an entire system. A moment of hesitation can change everything, but hesitation is dangerous too. In a system designed for speed, slowing down can feel like failure. It can feel like disobedience, even when it comes from logic. This is the paradox of such systems. They are built to protect, but they leave very little room for human judgment. And yet, when something unexpected happens, human judgment becomes the most important factor of all. Petrov didn't know it yet, but he was about to face exactly that situation, a moment where the system would give a clear answer and reality would say something different. Everything around him was designed to guide him toward one action: report the attack. That was the safe choice, the expected choice, the logical choice within the system. But sometimes, the logical choice within a system is not the right choice in reality. And that is where the real challenge begins. As the alarms continued and the data confirmed the threat, the system was doing exactly what it was built to do. It was fast, precise, and confident. But confidence does not always mean accuracy, and precision does not always mean truth. Sometimes, even the most advanced systems can be completely wrong. And when that happens, everything depends on the person who is willing to question it. In that control room, surrounded by technology and pressure, Petrov was about to become that person, because the next moments would not be about machines anymore. They would be about a single human decision. The control room no longer felt calm. The steady rhythm of routine had been replaced by tension, thick and almost physical. Every screen glowed brighter, every sound felt sharper, and every person in the room was now fully alert, waiting for what would happen next. The alarms had already broken the silence, but what came after was even more unsettling: the repetition. The system didn't stop. It continued to send signals, reinforcing the same message again and again. According to the data, this was not a single mistake. It was a confirmed event. Multiple detections, consistent readings, and a trajectory that pointed toward one conclusion: incoming nuclear missiles. For most systems, repeated confirmation means certainty. The more times something is detected, the more reliable it becomes. And that's exactly what made this moment so dangerous, because now this situation was no longer ambiguous. It was no longer a possibility. The system was treating it as a fact. Inside the room, the pressure continued to rise. Officers exchanged quick glances, their expressions serious, focused, and tense. No one needed to explain what was happening. Everyone already knew. Some began preparing reports. Others stayed fixed on their screens, watching the data update in real time. The environment had shifted completely from observation to reaction. At the center of it all, Stanislav Petrov remained seated, his eyes locked on the display. He wasn't moving quickly like the others. He was watching, thinking. The system showed a clear sequence: launch detected, trajectory confirmed, impact expected. Everything was aligned with what they had been trained to recognize as a real attack. And yet something still didn't feel right. It wasn't a visible error. There were no broken signals, no missing data. Everything looked correct. And maybe that was the problem: everything looked too perfect. Real-world events are often messy, unpredictable, and complex. But this felt clean. Too clean. As if reality had been simplified into something artificial. Petrov leaned slightly closer to the screen, studying the information more carefully. Numbers, patterns, timing. He analyzed everything he could within those limited seconds. The number of missiles was still small. Too small for a full-scale nuclear strike. It didn't match the logic of overwhelming force that defined such attacks. If this was truly the beginning of war, it didn't follow the expected strategy. And in a system built on patterns and predictions, that inconsistency mattered. But doubt is dangerous in moments like this. The system was not designed to encourage questioning. It was designed to eliminate it. Around him, the urgency was increasing. The longer he waited, the more critical the situation became. Every second felt like a risk. One of the officers looked toward him, waiting, not with words but with expectation. The decision had to be made, and it had to be made now. The alarms continued quietly in the background, no longer shocking but constant, like a reminder that time was moving forward whether he acted or not. Petrov knew exactly what the system expected from him: a simple confirmation, a report, a step that would move everything forward. But he also understood something deeper. Once that step was taken, there would be no turning back. The process would continue far beyond his control. This was the moment where hesitation and action carried equal risk. Acting too fast could start something irreversible. Waiting too long could allow a real threat to go unanswered. It was no longer just about data or procedure. It was about judgment, human judgment standing in front of a machine that claimed certainty. And in that moment, the room seemed to grow quieter, as if everything was waiting for one thing: the decision. Because what would happen next would not be decided by the system, but by him. The room felt different now. It was no longer just tense, it was heavy, as if the air itself had become thicker. Every person inside knew that something irreversible was approaching. The system had made its conclusion. Now only one thing remained: the human response. According to all protocols, the decision was already made by the machines. The role of the officers was simply to confirm and transmit that decision upward. It was designed to be fast, automatic, and unquestionable. But Stanislav Petrov was not moving like the system expected. He was still focused, watching the data not as a command, but as a question. And in that silence, doubt began to grow stronger than certainty. The system said there were missiles. The system said the attack was real. The system said the response must begin. But Petrov was no longer thinking only about what the system said. He was thinking about what made sense. If this was truly a nuclear first strike, it should have been massive, coordinated, immediate, overwhelming, not limited, not partial, not uncertain. And yet, everything in front of him suggested something incomplete, something flawed, something that didn't fully match reality even if it looked correct on paper. Around him, pressure continued to build. Officers were waiting for his confirmation. The chain of command was frozen at his level, waiting for a signal that would unlock everything else. One report from him could trigger a sequence that no one could stop. Once the information moved upward, decisions would accelerate beyond his control. The system would take over completely. But if he stayed silent and the system was, right then the delay could become a fatal mistake. Entire cities could be unprepared. Retaliation could be lost. This was the paradox. Both action and inaction carried catastrophic risk. There was no safe path. Only degrees of uncertainty. Petrov felt that weight clearly. Not as theory, but as reality. Every second stretched longer than the last, as if time itself was waiting for him to choose. He looked again at the screens. The data hadn't changed. The system was still confident, still absolute, still wrong or right. There was no way to be sure. And in that uncertainty, something shifted. Not in the system, but in him. A quiet realization that machines do not understand doubt, but humans do. He began to trust something that couldn't be measured. Not data, not calculations, but pattern, intuition, and logic that existed beyond the screen. Because reality, he thought, is never perfect. It doesn't arrive in clean signals or structured reports. It is chaotic, inconsistent, and often unclear. And what he was seeing felt too structured, too precise, too artificial for something as catastrophic as nuclear war. The room behind him was still waiting. No one interrupted, no one questioned. The responsibility had already been silently transferred onto his shoulders. At that moment, there was no higher authority to ask, no second opinion, no backup decision, only him and the system. And so he made the choice that no protocol had fully prepared for, a choice that went against expectation, against procedure, and against fear itself. He decided not to escalate the alert. Instead, he reported something different. He declared the warning a false alarm. Not because he was certain, but because certainty no longer existed. It was not a loud decision. There was no dramatic moment, no visible reaction, just a calm statement that changed everything. For a brief second, nothing happened. The system remained active, the room remained silent, and the world remained unaware. But in reality, everything had just shifted. A chain reaction that was about to begin had been stopped before it could even start. And now, all that remained was waiting to discover whether that decision had saved the world or doomed it. After the decision was made, the room did not explode with reaction. There was no celebration, no relief. No immediate confirmation that anything had been solved. Instead, there was only silence, heavy, uncertain silence, as everyone waited for reality to respond. The system continued to run in the background, still showing its original warning. But now, something critical had changed. The human layer had interrupted the machine's certainty, and the chain of escalation had been stopped. Outside the control room, the world remained completely unaware. Cities continued sleeping, people continued dreaming, and nothing in the sky showed any sign of what had almost been triggered. Minutes passed slowly. Each second felt heavier than the last. Because in situations like this, time is not just passing, it is testing whether a decision was correct or catastrophic. Inside the system, there was still no confirmation of incoming impact. No radar updates showing real launches. No external signals supporting what the satellites had reported. And slowly something became clear. Nothing was actually coming. There were no missiles, no explosions, no escalation from the other side. The threat that had appeared so real was not real at all. What had been detected was later traced to a rare and unexpected phenomenon. Sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds had been misinterpreted by the satellite system as missile launches, a combination of angles, timing, and atmospheric conditions had created a signal that looked exactly like a nuclear attack, even though nothing had happened at all. It was not sabotage. It was not an enemy strike. It was not even human error. It was nature itself creating an illusion powerful enough to deceive. Technology built to detect them, end of the world. And yet, that illusion had almost been enough to trigger a full nuclear response. If the system had been followed blindly, the sequence would have continued. Reports would have been escalated. Commands would have been issued. And within minutes, retaliation could have begun. But because of one decision, that chain was broken before it could spread. Stanislav Petrov did not receive immediate recognition. There was no public announcement, no praise, no acknowledgement from the world at that time. In fact, the incident remained classified for years, hidden within military reports that only a few people would ever read. But history has a way of revealing what systems tried to hide. Eventually, the story emerged, and with it came a realization of how close the world had come to disaster. Experts later agreed that if the decision had gone the other way, even slightly, humanity might have entered a nuclear conflict based on a false signal. And that realization changed how many people viewed not only technology, but also trust in automated systems that operate without human judgment. Because this was not just a story about war, it was a story about decision-making under uncertainty, where perfect information does not exist and consequences are absolute. It raised a question that still remains relevant today. When machines are confident, but humans are uncertain who should be trusted. The system had been precise. The system had been fast. The system had been consistent. And yet it had been wrong. And the human who was expected to obey without question was the one who prevented catastrophe. This moment quietly reshaped how some people think about automation, artificial intelligence, and the limits of blind trust in technology. Because no matter how advanced a system becomes, it still operates within boundaries. And outside those boundaries lies reality, unpredictable and imperfect. And in that gap between system certainty and human doubt, the world was saved not by perfection, but by hesitation at the right moment. After everything had settled, there was no explosion of recognition, no global announcement, and no immediate celebration. The world continued as if nothing had happened, completely unaware that it had just passed through one of its most dangerous moments in modern history. Inside the control room, the atmosphere slowly returned to normal. The alarm stopped, the screens stabilized, and the tension that had filled the space began to fade, leaving behind only exhaustion and silence. For Stanislav Petrov, there was no immediate sense of victory. No emotional release, only the quiet understanding that something had gone wrong, and that his decision had stopped it from becoming irreversible. But at that time, he was not treated as a hero. There were no medals, no public recognition, no official praise. The event itself remained hidden, classified, and buried within military secrecy for years. The world outside continued to move forward, unaware of how close it had come to a catastrophe it would never even know existed. And that is what makes this story so powerful. Not just what happened, but what did not happen. A war that never began. A decision that never escalated. A disaster that never unfolded. Later, when the truth finally came out, experts began to analyze what had happened that night. They studied the system, the satellites, and the conditions that led to the false detection. They discovered that a rare combination of sunlight reflection and cloud formations had created a perfect illusion. The system interpreted it as missile launches, Even though nothing had actually been launched, it was a reminder that even the most advanced technology is still limited by the physical world it tries to interpret. And in that limitation lies the importance of human judgment. Because systems do not understand context. They do not understand doubt. They only process signals. But humans can question. Humans can hesitate. And sometimes hesitation is not weakness, it is protection. This event slowly became known as one of the most critical near misses in nuclear history. A moment where the world came closer to disaster than almost anyone realized. And yet, there is no monument to it. No global memory of that night. No public awareness of how fragile the situation truly was. Because history often remembers explosions, wars, and disasters, but it rarely remembers the moments when they were avoided. Still, the impact of that night continues to echo in discussions about technology, automation, and human responsibility in high-risk systems. It raises a question that is still relevant today. In a world increasingly driven by machines and algorithms, how much should we trust systems that cannot understand consequences the way humans do? The answer is not simple, because systems bring speed, precision, and consistency, but humans bring doubt, context, and judgment. And sometimes it is the combination of both that prevents disaster. Not one or the other, but the balance between them. On that night in 1983, that balance came down to a single person, in a single room at a single moment in time. A moment where following the system could have meant catastrophe and questioning. It could have meant survival. There was no certainty, only decision, and that decision changed everything. Not by creating something new, but by stopping something from happening at all. In the end, there was no visible victory, no dramatic ending, just silence and the continuation of a world that never knew how close it had come to ending. And perhaps that is the most important part of this story. The most powerful moments in history are not always the ones that happen, but the ones that are quietly prevented. Because sometimes saving the world does not look like action. It looks like a single person saying no when everything around them says yes.